I'm going to try to follow the pattern we've been in the last couple of weeks, but also I feel like this is a good foundation for where we're going next week. Next week, as I already mentioned, is Vision Sunday, and it's been amazing. It doesn't feel complete and all put together, but things have been stirring as we've been listening over the last several weeks. And we're excited, as we just sang, to do what we believe God is already doing, to partner with Him. And today, I'm going to talk to you about being made complete. Now, you say, that sounds kind of a weird place to start when we're kicking something off. We're getting ready to move into a Vision Sunday, which is very future-oriented. And now I'm talking about being made complete. Hopefully, it'll make sense here in a few minutes. If you do want to look at this scripture with me, it'll be on the screens, but I'm in Ephesians, not Philippians. I'm in Ephesians chapter 3. Verse 19. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and read it, and then I'm going to unpack. We have three simple thoughts we're going to pull out of this. We're going to do some practical application, and just like again, I've felt this way the last few weeks. These little series of messages, they're so simple, but yet if you catch it, it's really impactful. Okay, even though the content might be less, actually sometimes I think that helps us focus. I know it does me. Ephesians 3:19, may you experience the love of Christ, though it is too great to fully understand. Then you will be made complete with the fullness of life and power that comes from God. Notice that he says, may you experience the love of Christ. It's really hard. You're probably not going to get it all, but I pray you experience it. He starts by saying experience might be more important than starting with understanding. How many of you know that with Jesus, it usually goes heart impact first, and then we grow in knowledge? And I'm not criticizing, but if we're honest, as Westerners in the world system, as Americans, we're very analytical people. We try to understand and then shove that knowledge down into our heart because we think if we understand enough, then we can believe. And I'm just going to give a quick plug. This Tuesday night at Alpha, we're talking about how can I have faith? We're touching on that now, but we're going to really unpack that and explore that on Tuesday night, because faith says I receive and then I partner with the Spirit of God to grow in understanding, but I don't necessarily understand when I choose to trust. That makes sense? All right. There's a difference between knowing about something or knowing about someone and being shaped by them. There's a difference between knowing about Jesus, knowing who he is, even knowing the stories or the culture of Christianity. There's a difference between all of that and being shaped or formed by Jesus. All right? Let me give you a quick example. How many of you have songs, maybe from your childhood, because it's just like, it's what your parents listen to. I'll just self-disclose here a little bit. I grew up, I literally tell people, I was raised on early 90s Garth Brooks. I know every word to every song on about 6 or 8 albums from that time period. And this is not literally true, but I feel like that's all my parents listened to. And maybe every once in a while, a little Reba. Like that, that was my reality. And the truth is, some of those songs, I know the lyrics, but I don't feel the music. Does that make sense? You can know the words and not have an experience and not connect with the thing. You can also know the facts about Jesus and not live in his love, not connect into his heart. That is a possibility. And what we're aiming at is to move into an experiential relationship with Jesus. So let me give you a little context. This is always helpful. This book of the Bible, Ephesians, is a letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to church people. The church at Ephesus, that's where we get the word Ephesians. They were the Ephesian people, or the church at the place called Ephesus. This is a letter he's writing to them to encourage them and to instruct them and to help them. But for all intents and purposes, if you can imagine, they're just people like us. You know, they're followers of Jesus, and this is directed at them. And I want you to notice that the content of his prayer in this verse is not try harder or get smarter. It's may you experience the love of Christ. Because Christianity is not primarily about information, it's about encounter. Life with Jesus is about encounter, not information. I want you to get a hold of that. The reality is that this love of Jesus that we're trying to experience and to engage with, I'm going outside of the verse we read, but right near this is where it talks about how wide and deep, and like it describes the dimensions of the love of God. And the reality is the love of God is wider than your worst mistake. It goes deeper than your deepest shame, and it is stronger than every doubt that you might have. It's longer than your wandering. How many of you sometimes in life feel like you're just, I'm saying wandering, not wondering. Sorry, it's like wandering around. I told you this story a while back, because wandering can be beautiful, right? But it's not where we want to live in life. And I'm gonna save that story for a different time. Jesus's love is longer than you're wandering, because the reality is you don't ever reach the end of it. It's not something that you can master. You know, I downloaded a new game on the phone for Arthur to play, and it's a really fun, challenging, like brain-twisting puzzle game, right? But at some point, you run out of levels, and it's like, I've beat the game, I've mastered it, move on to something else. Not so with the love of God. You can pursue it your whole life. You will never reach the end of it. But the reality is, you can live inside of it. You can live in the love of God and never reach the end, never fully explore the depths, never wander in his love to where you run out. That's the invitation today. All right? That's my prayer for you. That really is the foundation of everything that we're going to begin sharing and pursuing over starting next week and moving forward as we continue to press forward, to partner with God, to go where he's going, to do what he's doing. It's all rooted and grounded in relational, intimate love with Jesus that you can experience. And that's my prayer, because you need that to start. You need an experience of the love of God. And don't feel condemnation if you're saying, well, Matthew, yeah, that sounds good, but I don't have that. Just keep journeying, right? I'm not trying to point a finger, but just to have an awareness that we are pursuing that. It's a valid thing to pursue. Okay, this next section, moving from experience to wholeness. Because Paul says something powerful after this opening prayer, and this is the hinge or the fulcrum of this whole thing. Then you will be made complete. Notice the order. Experience, completeness. Not performance, completeness. That's what we think. We just do more stuff, we'll complete it. Not achievement. Don't raise your hand. How many of you might somewhere in your inner person identify as an overachiever? You're like, you want to raise your hand because that feels like an achievement, a box you can check, right? It's okay, but what I'm saying is that's not the journey with Jesus. You don't have to accomplish more things. You don't have to check more boxes. But that is the way our world trains us. In our world, in our culture, completeness usually sounds like when I get my financial house in order, I'll be more complete. When I get my health lined out, and I lose some weight and I get healthy habits, then I'll be complete. When my family situation stabilizes, maybe it feels rocky. It's like, well, when we get through this storm, I'll feel more complete. When the church grows, I'll feel more complete. I'll feel more at ease. When I finally feel the self-confidence that I've always been searching for, I'll feel more complete. But Paul says something here that's really important. Completeness flows from love, not accomplishment. You will not get more experience of the love of Jesus by doing more things, by checking more boxes, and by achieving more. You can experience God's love right where you're at, with the rockiness, with the uncertainty, with the lack of confidence. And when you experience Christ's love, you can begin to move towards a place where you stop striving for approval. That's a restful thought. I've been there. I have been in a place where I was striving and seeking for approval. And the reality is, maybe nobody's ever told you this, but you already are approved. Maybe you just don't know it. Jesus, the only opinion who matters, looks at you through the lens of Jesus, who paid the price for your mess ups, and says, you are approved. And it's not conditional. We just refinanced our house, and as part of the process of refinancing the house, they track the different steps. Okay, you're in this phase, and at some point it says you're approved, but with conditions. Meaning, like, if the underwriter decides that they need one more paper, or it's like you also have to not, go out and like borrow other money. Like there's conditions, right? Jesus says that you're approved without conditions. There's no process that he's waiting on. There's nothing else you need to do. You, as a person made in the image of God, you have intrinsic value. You are approved just where you are. And you need to accept that because it flows from the love of God. He decides my value, my worth, and my approval. And we also, that's a good place to stop and take a breath and maybe get a drink of coffee. When we experience the love of God, we will also, in addition to not striving for approval, we will stop trying to perform to be accepted. And that's something that's really easy to get messed up in the culture of a church body. We think we need to perform, I need to be more spiritual so pastor will notice me. I need to perform so no, that's like toxic church culture. We're not performing in order to get acceptance. We try to practice in our value of embracing community. It's the same as God. It's not embrace community once you've been here for 6 months and got your act together and cleaned yourself up. No, I truly mean it when I look at you and say, I love you because you're a person that God made. I'm willing to engage in relationship with you no matter what kind of hang-ups and mess ups you might have in your life. No matter how bad you might feel about yourself, I'm trying to see the Jesus in you. And there is Jesus in every person you'll ever meet. Anywhere on the face of this earth, there is some place in that life where Jesus is working and he's doing something. Now, not everyone is accepting it, partnering with it, cooperating with it, but the phrase that I would encourage you to latch onto that we like to use around here is there's gold in everyone. And we're looking for the gold. We're calling out the gold because no matter how a person's life is gone, what their behavior is, somewhere in there, there is gold, and we're looking for it. We're calling it out. We're helping see people's value that way. This is one more of these. This is really important. Experiencing God's love helps us get out of the comparison trap. This is another pitfall that we tend to do, is we measure ourselves against everyone else. Well, I was feeling okay, but man, they're doing so much better. Well, and it really is a trap. It's the enemy is like distracting your focus. Now, let's not go there. Okay. Sorry. There's lots of, the way this brain works, there's lots of temptations. And sometimes I just have to stop and go, God, is that? And he's like, nope, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that right now. All right. So here's what I want us to move towards. Let's live from fullness, not striving to get fullness. Now that's backwards in most of your minds. Because you're thinking, well, I'm not full. I have to do something to get full. You just receive it. You just receive it by faith. God has made it possible. He has done all the work. He's made it possible. And as we open our hearts, as we surrender our lives, as we say yes, Lord, with every part of who we are, we can begin to enter into the fullness of living life with Jesus, and then we can live from that place. Everything else can begin to flow out of that. If you've ever heard the phrase living from the overflow, that's what we're talking about. Christians, you're supposed to be full of Jesus, not just a fan of Jesus. Like, it's supposed to be like to the point that it leaks out. Okay? I kind of touched on this last week, but for many of us, it's hard to get a hold of this completeness, because it carries the idea of being filled up, and many of us feel like we're still running on empty. And at least 3 of you are now humming a song, but that's okay. Many of us are spiritually tired, and I think it's okay to name that, but we don't live there. If we're spiritually tired, it's not because you don't believe the right things. It's probably because you're trying to carry something that you weren't designed to carry alone. The things in your life were made to be carried. And again, I'm plugging, like, go back on YouTube and watch last week where we talked about his yoke. Being yoked to Jesus gives us the capacity to carry what he's placed on us. That's what it means when he says, I'll never give you more than you can carry. He's not saying you just need to bulk up. He's saying in partnership, he can carry it with you. All right, so here's the last one, and we're going to wrap up. He says you'll be made complete with all the fullness of life and power that comes from God. I mean, I've said this before. I would like my life to feel more full. Let's take a minute. If you're sitting near someone, you're just going to turn to your neighbor and just real quick, find someone near you. You don't have to move. If you're sitting next to someone, just turn to them. If you need to slide down, do that. But here's what I want you to do. Share one thing in your life that doesn't feel full or doesn't feel made complete. And then let the other person pray a 30-second prayer inviting Jesus to bring fullness in that area. And then we'll switch and let the other person, so both sides get to. Does that make sense? So I'll coach you through this. Go ahead and find, if you're not right by somebody, you can slide down towards somebody. Just make sure you have a partner. You can just turn around to somebody behind you if you need to. All right. So name one thing. I don't care who goes first. Name one thing that doesn't feel complete or full in your life, and then just ask the other person to. And if you don't know how to pray that, just say, Jesus, would you bring fullness or completeness in that area that they named? Like, it's really simple. Okay? Take 60 seconds to do that, and then we'll switch and have you do the other person. If you're watching online, you can let us know in the comments, or if you're sitting next to someone on the couch, do it with them right there in the room. Okay? All right. If you've shared, make sure you ask the person to go ahead and pray. Just take another 30 seconds to just simple, quick prayers. Doesn't have to be long. As you wrap that up, make sure you switch and let the other person share. We'll take one more minute. Let the other person share and get prayer as well. All right. The second person should have had a chance to share, and you should be praying as you wrap that up. You can come back to your spot. All right. Take another 10, 15 seconds and just wrap those up and come back to your spot. We're going to land the plane and move to the end. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go. If you're struggling to wrap up, you'll figure it out, but I'm going to go on, okay? So, let's bring this in for landing. Fullness of life, fullness of power. We're not talking about hype. We're not talking about personality. We're not talking about human energy. We're talking God's life, God's power. And here's what that means for us as a church family. Because I just give you, this is like the phrase that started this whole the talk and the direction we went this morning. I just kept hearing like we've got to be rooted and grounded in love, and then we build on that foundation, right? So God's life, God's power for us as a church family, that means we're not building, if you go back to, our house plans series, we're carrying that idea forward. Oh, now she thinks that I said Siri and I did not. Now she's transcribing everything I'm saying. How fun. Where'd we go? Okay, we're not, so what we're building, our house, the people of God, that's often called like this is God's house. We're not building on charisma, especially mine. Like we're not building on my personality. We're not building on anybody else's personality. We're not building on pressure. We're not building on guilt. We're building on love. There's another scripture. We're not going to go there right now. You remember we used to sing a song about the guy who built his house on the rock? Okay, that's enough. You go look that up later. When a church, we focused on us as individuals, but when a corporate body, when a church experiences the love of Jesus, there are some fruits. We sang this morning about God, make us fruitful. It's not all about us. We want fruit, which means increase and impact. When we as a church experience the love of Jesus, unity becomes possible. Generosity becomes natural. Mission becomes joyful. We get to do this, not we need to do this. And courage becomes sustainable. I dream of a time and a season where we can take bigger and bigger, like courageous, risky, bold moves, because we've built such a solid foundation of God's love. We've learned to listen that everyone else looking says, that's crazy. Don't do that. You're going to kill everything. And yet we're able to step out. We're able to take the risk. When God says go, we go. Okay? I dream of that. I invite you to dream of that with me. Here's where it starts. An experience of the love of Jesus. Not just once, right? Not just meet Jesus and hold on till you die. Not even, oh yeah, I had this encounter years ago, but again and again and again and again and again. And you enter the season of your life where you think, oh, well, surely I'm done now. I've done what I can do. You know, and then again and again. All right. So here's the prayer. Will you put up that last slide, Arthur? We're going to pray this together. And then I'm going to give you some clear next steps, offer you the chance for ministry, and dismiss. All right. So why don't you stand? Sometimes there's just, I don't know, like faith gets activated when we do a movement. So let's stand. You don't have to say this out loud, but pray this with me. Hey, Jesus, I want to experience your love, even if I don't understand it. Just go slow. This is not a recitation. All right? Some of you just need to dwell on that. I want to experience your love, even if I don't understand it. Now let's just invite him. Fill what is empty. Heal what's broken. And complete what is unfinished. In Jesus' name. Amen.